right, good Tuesday afternoon, everybody. My name's Crystal Holloman, a digital reporter here at News 10. I am joined by Tim Staudt of News 10 Sports, and it's kind of a busy day in sports. Good thing you got Freddie here with you.
Freddie's back from vacation. That's good to see. We need all the help we can get, and,
Yeah.
on a day when we're on the eve of the 2 days of Big Ten football media sessions in Indianapolis. The preseason poll came out. Michigan State's listed as fifth in the Big Ten East. That's no surprise. Michigan 1, Ohio State 2, Penn State 3, Maryland 4. But then the Jim Harbaugh story broke, late this morning. From various media that he is likely to be suspended for the first 4 games, all of them in Ann Arbor. You could coach Michigan and romp over East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and Rutgers. So if he misses now what I don't know are the parameters of that. Does it affect his pay? Can he go to practice? Does he have to stay away from the stadium?
Right.
What are the parameters? But the NCAA Council on Infractions has to approve this formally, which could take a couple of weeks. And what, besides just not coaching 4 games, what all goes into that I don't know.
Well, we're just a little bit over a month away from football, too.
Well, actually, practice is, it starts next
Right.
week. They get through the media days, and then for the high schools, it's Monday, August 7th.
Can you break down a little bit why he's facing these violations, or why?
Well, allegedly, when the pandemic occurred, the NCAA curtailed greatly what coaches could do on recruiting. They didn't want a lot of travel, they didn't want a lot of visits, they didn't want interaction with people. So it was changed then, and they asked him, for whatever reason, about some things that they had heard, what he had done with some recruits on meals and things like that. It wasn't that what he did was that bad. They don't think that he told them the truth. Now, the NCAA has no subpoena power, so how you can prove that he was telling the truth or a lie, or anyone else in college sports for that matter, is beyond me, because that's been the big criticism of the NCAA. It does not have, when you don't interview people, you got to take their word for it. They apparently, Harbaugh claims he doesn't remember. What over did I get this guy a cheeseburger?
How are you supposed to remember some of that stuff?
That's what he says.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do you remember what car you drove in 1998?
what did I steal that year?
Okay. But I mean, it is tough to remember some of those things. I'm not defending him.
Well, not only that, with this issue still
There's a
not
lot.
resolved, I think it's affected the contract renegotiation he has with Michigan, because if they can put in the contract that he can be fired without cause, or with cause, and he violated NCAA rules, well, that's a big deal. Unless you put it in there that at the end of his contract he gets paid regardless. And I think there's some, I don't think everybody within the Michigan family is happy with all this. It would affect a couple of his assistant coaches, so it's being reported. I thought Northwestern was going to be the big story at the Big Ten media days. Now it's going to be a move over Northwestern, it's Michigan. And, the preseason polls have got Michigan very highly ranked. So, but with the 4 games that he would miss, if it's the 4 games that they're suggesting, but I don't know what his availability would be for practices, for talking on the phone before or after. I don't. They haven't spelled that out. What is he allowed to do?
Right.
Besides not be on the sideline for the games.
And this isn't even final.
No, it will take the Council of Infractions several weeks to formally approve this. But the angle is that Michigan reportedly is willing to go along with this for a 4-game suspension. I doubt that he's happy about that.
That Michigan's willing to go along with it?
That Michigan's willing to go along with it to get it over and done with.
I mean, if you're going to miss 4 games, those are the 4 games to miss.
Those are the 4. Tennessee just got a 3-year probation, and the coaches were all gone anyway for 208 violations. This doesn't rank with that. But now you got Tennessee and Michigan in the NCAA football crosshairs in the last couple of weeks, at a time when the NCAA's entire authority is questioned, and whether or not the NCAA, the way it runs football, is in the best interest of college sports. All that's going to come up.
And you mentioned Northwestern being a big topic that's a private school, so does that different?
Well, they're at the Big Ten Media Days.
Right.
So are they going to send the interim coach? He's going to say that he is restricted on what he can comment about this hazing thing because it's all legal.
Right.
So he's only allowed to talk
He'll
about the
comment on
team.
pending litigation.
He'll comment on the team, I would think, whether the AD at Northwestern. I mean, I don't see Northwestern spilling its guts on anything regarding its own issues at Big Ten Football Media Days.
We do have a couple questions. Tim wants to know, how bad would it have been if he didn't lie about it?
It would not have been as bad.
Okay.
Look, you're assuming that he lied. You're assuming that he was deceptive.
Yeah, somebody else asked, is it correct that he lied to the NCAA investigators and is likely only getting a 4-game suspension
Well, the
for
issue
lying?
is he claims he can't remember.
Okay.
And they claim, yes, you can. All right? So if he'd have said, no, I did this, this, and this, and I guess that was wrong, then I think that's what's called a level 2 violation. They're not on his case because somebody ate an illegal meal. They're on his case because they don't think he was truthful when answering their questions.
Okay.
That's the issue.
So, okay,
Now,
so that's
to
what
that,
Eric was
to
asking.
that answer, to that question, no, it probably would not have been a 4-game suspension.
Okay. Well,
But, I mean, I don't know what he thinks. I mean, where I think this is going to be an issue is within the Michigan department, because the whole issue previous to that was, are we going to stand by the guy and what he says, or are we going to try to make a deal to get this over and done with and put it in the rearview mirror? Now, how much? I assume he'll be at the media day. He's due Thursday to speak.
Okay,
But,
so it's just
usually those things are about the season coming up.
Yeah.
But in the world of college sports today, the issues tend to overwhelm this stuff
They do.
anymore. So who wants to ask him about the quarterback? We already know that. The issue is going to be about what he feels about all this moving forward.
And is it going to be the same thing with Northwestern? He can't speak about it, but not because it's
Depends
legal.
on what the questions are. But they're all going to get asked. I mean, where else do you ask him if you
You're
don't
always
get him
asking.
at media day? Northwestern, he can only, under advice of counsel, that's not I'm just trying to put the football team together.
We're talking football, yes.
Our opening game's Rutgers, I got to get them ready. In Michigan, with Harbaugh, he's a horrendous interview, in my opinion, to begin with. So if you ask him about this, it's going to be very short, very deceptive, which is what they got him for in the first. He wants to talk about his team. He doesn't want to talk about what he fed one recruit. So.
Well, that is the biggest story right now. We do have a couple things. What is your thoughts on the British Open? Because I didn't see you yesterday.
I think
so I had a question about it.
I think the best the guy had won in 167 tournaments, and then in the hardest one with the hardest weather, 5 time zones away, he laps the field. It's a tough sport. What he did over 4 days. That's a lot of guys can play well for one round. A lot of guys can play well for 2 rounds. Some guys can even play well for 3 rounds. But getting through 72 holes and fighting them all off, and he was up 5 shots at the end of 2 and fought them off on the weekend. I mean, it was impressive in my opinion. He's just a little guy.
Yeah.
But he's got a lot of experience. He's obviously tougher than nails. I saw him play at the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit, and he was right in that. And you can be a very, 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 very good professional player in this sport around the world and never win because you're up against 150 guys. And, if you come in second or third, fourth, are you a loser? I mean, in his case, he'd come close a number of times, but that's the first mate. But I'll be interested to see how he reacts from this now, because I would think his confidence is through the roof. He wants to play in the Ryder Cup at the end of September in Rome. That's going to be probably a pretty good option for him.
That'll be fun. We do have a couple more headlines. Johnny Luchak, the 1947 Heisman winner, led Notre Dame to 3 national titles. He has passed away at the age of 98. And I was looking up when he played, and he had a 21-1 record as a starting quarterback for Frank Leahy.
Who was a very famous coach at Notre Dame.
And he had a lot of time at Notre Dame, and it made me question. He played for 2 years, then went 2 years in the Navy in the 40s, and came back for 1946 and 1947.
He was prominent. When I just posted that now because he was a very, for this generation, he was a very prominent player. You got him before I was born. That's a long way back when you're, 98. He did broadcasting. He broadcast football shows and games quite a bit after his career. He was very good on the air. That's what I remember the most as a kid growing up watching Notre Dame football highlights with Johnny Luchak.
I love
So,
it. There's a really good story on our website about that. You can hear about the standing room only crowd of 75,000 at Yankee Stadium when they played Army, my bad. Katie Ledecky has tied Michael Phelps' record for 15 individual gold medals. That happened this morning at the World Aquatics Championships. So we have that. And then also another big story that actually happened yesterday, but kind of breaking today, is LeBron James' son, his oldest son, Bronny, suffered cardiac arrest while practicing at University of Southern California. He is stable, though. He's out of ICU. But again, another young athlete suffering cardiac arrest.
well, we'll hope for the best. I mean,
We have one more question really quick, or a comment. Molly says that he needs to keep notes for Harbaugh to ensure this type of situation doesn't happen. Can't remember is a lame answer. Harbaugh needs to do better. Thoughts on that?
well, I'm sure a lot of people feel that way. I mean, look, his popularity was shaky early at Michigan because they didn't beat Ohio State and didn't beat Michigan
For a
State.
long time?
Now they're in the Final Four 2 years ago, so now he's getting a bad deal by the hardcore of their fans. But if you weren't there and you weren't a part of all this, how do you know really what did and did not happen? I'm not saying he did or he didn't. What's reality is the NCAA is going to penalize them and wouldn't go away. I think Michigan thought back in January or February that they got enough other problems on their plate. This will die down. Well, apparently it hasn't.
Is it because you want to make an example? It's not just.
Well, his contract at Michigan is an issue. They obviously they don't want to lose him because they're hot right now and getting hotter.
Mm-hmm.
But he's, look, when you're the big name football coach at a big name school and you got big winning, you got some, you got some pull. I mean,
Right.
you're a big shot, like Izzo is over here at Michigan State. Okay, so when things like this happen, more people than not are going to side with you. Think he's getting. I've heard the Michigan media think he's getting a terrible deal. That he's getting penalized for a peanut butter sandwich. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. They're getting penalized for whatever their reason. I didn't interview him, okay, and I didn't subpoena him because he can't. They believe that he was deceptive is the words they don't call him a liar.
Right.
They say he was deceptive. Now, who am I to say that he is or he claims he wasn't. He claims he couldn't remember. So, when you came in, I couldn't remember that you wanted me here this afternoon. I thought that I just couldn't remember.
Just can't remember. Is it? I almost got fried, but nope, I picked you instead. What are you guys working on today?
All of this and more.
All of this.
All of this and a whole lot more. The Lions are in camp, and I don't know. He's cutting a lion, so I don't know what it's going to be, but there's a lot of Detroit Lions because there's a lot of enthusiasm for that. Oh, and Shohei Ohtani's in town tonight with the Angels.
Oh, cool. Love that.
So-
And some good news out of Lions camp. No injury for.
Well, he's injured, but how injured, they haven't really said yet. I don't think it's catastrophic with his knee. The Gardner Johnson.
Yeah.
I think they think he's going to be okay.
Okay. All right. Well, that's.
Am I
what-
excused?
You are
Go
excused.
from radio back to TV now.
All
I'll tell
right.
Fred you said hi.
Tell Fred I said hi over there. That's what we have coming up on sports. Make sure you check out WILX.com for all the other sports headlines. Thanks for tuning in.